Hello and welcome to For Fox's Sake. My name is Pete Selby, and alongside me is Rob Hayes. Rob, Merry Christmas, Merry Day after Boxing Day, Happy New Year in advance. Um, shall we just talk about what we've done over Christmas, okay, and what we've got to look forward to in the new year? Should we not mention the football, okay? Did you have a great Christmas? What did you do yesterday? What did you get? What did you give? Any funny stories?
That's a big question. Yeah, lovely Christmas. Thank you very much. Merry Christmas to you, your better half, the rest of the family. Yeah, very nice. Just catching up with family. Spent Christmas Eve with my family, Christmas Day with my wife's family, Boxing Day with some more extended family. Not a huge amount of note. I think the best gift that I've had, I'll say the best gift, the most memorable gift that I've had is like one of them like bottle openers, like a good Spanish sized one, right?
I
But
know what a bottle opener is. Trust me.
there's loads of different styles. I know, you've probably seen every style of bottle opener there is, but like the spanner style one, yeah,
Yep.
and with a handle, and it's got a picture of my head at the end, but the mouth is cut out, and that's the bit that goes on the bottle. That's I got it in the family Secret Santa yesterday. Delighted with that.
Sounds horrific. That really
It's
does.
pretty frightening, but it's also quite impressive.
I did
I
get the
should have got it
gnome.
actually.
I got the gnome, which made an appearance in a previous For Fox's Sake podcast.
Yeah, big
That,
fan.
that that was a Secret Santa. I don't know who it's from at work. It might have been from a Watford fan actually, because there's a few Watford fans. Yeah, I got a lovely a horse racing game, which was very nice. Kind of like it's like something that you'll see at the fair kind of thing, and one of the six will win. And it's all very nice, and I got some nice horse racing socks and not a lot of Leicester stuff, which I suppose it's not too bad actually. But yeah, lovely day, lovely Christmas, and hopefully everyone had a great Christmas out there, and is enjoying all the sport at the moment. Lots of football around, lots of darts, etc. And and also we won one of the weirdest cricket matches of all time. But there you go. We're going to be talking all things Leicester, all things what happened against Watford on Boxing Day, what it means for maybe Cifuentes, and also looking forward to the Derby game. That's what we've got coming up as well. But we'll just mention right now, first of all, we are live. So if you are watching right now live, whether you're watching through Facebook, through YouTube, or you're watching via Twitter, however you are, then do comments. And if you are listening back to this, remember you can listen to For Fox's Sake, and you can listen through Spotify, through Apple, all your normal places. Type in For Fox's Sake and you'll find us on there. So comment as you go through the show, anything that we say that you want to comment on, or just with any comment you want to make. We had plenty last time. I'm sure there's going to be plenty this time as well. Right, let's get straight into it. First of all, actually, on the first, just a reminder, for foxsake.news, will be going live on the 1st of January. Okay, there's loads on there. There's loads. There's even more on there. And I'll just give you a little snippet because and Rob and Andy have been working so hard on loads and loads of articles, loads of stuff on there. Okay. But I can announce right now that it's something that I've led. So I can announce this, Rob. Okay. And we have done, and we love a list. I love a list. Okay. And we've done in the past the greatest Leicester City XI, the greatest Leicester City team of all time. We've done the greatest from the years 2010 to 2020. We did that 5 years ago, if you remember. We did, and my favorite one we did, and this we might venture into again. I might have to dig out the podcast, the special we did a long time ago, Rob. But do you remember when we did the greatest 1 to 30, as in squad numbers? So who was the best number 24 of all time, and who was the best number 4 of all time who played for Leicester? And it came up with the weirdest squad, but a very good squad. And there was a lot of people out there who didn't quite get what we were doing. I think we should do that. But I can announce right now that I've led a charge for the greatest 101 Leicester City players of all time. We will do that list. Now, you'll have to go on to for fox8.news on New Year's Day to see the first 10. Okay, they're going to be launched 10 every couple of weeks or so. And there are certain parameters, okay? We're judging players on ability, on success at Leicester, moments that they've had, longevity, popularity, etc. All this is going on. And yeah, it's a very, very interesting list that I formed. It's going to be very controversial. I'm going to get so much abuse over it. So I'm looking forward to bringing that to you. Just what's the one thing that you're looking forward to on the first, Rob, with the new website?
I am looking forward to everybody just seeing the website, because it looks great. Those of you that watch the podcast by either live or watching it back will have seen recently that the logo's changed, the branding's changed. Thanks so much to our friends at Counterpress who we're working with on the new era of For Fox's Sake. But just when you go on the website, when you have subscribed, and if you haven't done so already, put your email address in for foxake.news, you get a discount on your subscription. When you've subscribed and you get into that website for the first time, like when the people at Counterpress gave us access to the website for the first time after Andy and I had put in a load of stuff, we just looked at it and we were like, this looks great. Because I think, like, I personally, and we wouldn't be writing stuff if we didn't think that the content was going to be good. But the way that it all looks, it is just the place to go. And it's easy to navigate. It looks great. Yeah, I think just generally the look of it on January the 1st, when other people get to see it, other than the three of us and the odd person who I've had my laptop out in front of and I've given a cheeky little sneaky peek to. I think just seeing it for the first time will be great.
Yeah, really looking forward to that. And again, the subscription, if you type in your email address now to for fox8.news, you get a discount. The regular price will be basically a pint a month. That's how much it will be. It will cost you a pint a month to get all of the content, okay? And then once it goes live, you'll be able to see all that. So do make sure you type in your email address. Let's get on to the football. It was terrible yesterday, wasn't it? Terrible on Boxing Day. We've got mentions already. Merry Christmas. Merry Christmas. And also was appalling yesterday. Not a surprise we lost. We've seen it 10 times or more this season from Chester Leicester. Narowski, who comments plenty. I hope you had a great Christmas as well. Yes, it was terrible. And it's such a Jekyll and Hyde side. I was thinking, actually, of what it's funny, actually, because when Rob joined For Fox's Sake, and when Andy joined For Fox's Sake, I'm not going to go about that.
I've been here since the beginning. Come on.
Yes, exactly. When Andy joined, like he did say, he says, you guys can be on the pod. You guys are the broadcasters, etc., and the football commentators. He's the journalist. Okay, he's working full time on the site. Okay, he's the journalist. That's what you're getting. You're getting a full time journalist working on stories to do with Leicester City. That's the content that you're going to be getting, as well as what we can provide. I won't really come on the pod. He's come on the pod and he's been absolutely fantastic, coming out with all these nuggets of brilliant information, great lines. He's there every single game, and he used the Jekyll and Hyde, and they so much are, aren't they, Leicester at the moment? And of course, we all know if they fall behind Leicester, they're not going to come back. And even though we're in front against Watford, they were in front by, again, a very good goal by a player who is standing out head and shoulders above everyone else. But so far this season, it's just been the lack of backbone in the side is terrible. And also, and I know it's very easy to move on to the manager, and we will, because I think we've reached that knife edge again, I think for probably the third time this season, Rob. But we mentioned about the sort of players we want in the side, and I think if you go back and listen to the previous episode, it just echoes even louder now after what happened against Watford, because we were in front of the game. And I know things can change in the match, and being 1-0 up very, very early and then losing in the game, you can do that against maybe the top of the league, etc. But from what we've seen so far this season, and I think what happened against Watford, I now do not trust, even though I wouldn't trust Leicester really in a 3-0 possession at any point really this season. But now I think you cannot really turn around and say, if Leicester go 1-0 up, they can go and win 2 or 3, 4-0. Okay, and you're confident about that. I think, and if they go 1-0 down, then you're very confident about them losing the game. I just think now they are so fragile that even if they are in front at any point in the game, you're just going to shake your head and go, you know what the opposition are going to do. They're going to fancy their chances.
Yeah, absolutely. And I was just, as you were saying that, I kind of knew the direction the question was coming in from. So I was just having a quick look back through results. And there's only one game Leicester have won this season where they've only scored one goal. And that was away at Charlton on the 23rd of August. 4 months ago was the last time that we won a game by only scoring one goal. So you're absolutely right. When Leicester go 1-0 up, at no point are you thinking, okay, this is going to be a victory, unless they've got 2 or 3 before half time. Because realistically, if you look at a few of the previous results, for Leicester to win, they need to have scored 3 goals by half time and then basically limp over the line. With the second half performances have been dreadful virtually throughout the entire season so far. So if they've not got that 3-goal buffer at half time, you can't bank on a win. And it's very much been the case most of the time this season, as to pretty much everything that needs to happen happens in the first half. So when Leicester are getting hammered 3 or 4 by 3 or 4 goals, they're coming in the first half. If Leicester are winning, they're scoring 3 goals in the first half. It's almost like, and even though Cifuentes has said, we spoke at half time about the need to sort of regroup, go back out there, positive attitude, make sure we get the next goal. Did anybody see any evidence of that? Did they, heck?
Absolutely. Let's so a few more comments. De Dallas, who likes to comment, a very good afternoon to you. The players looked as if they accepted defeat. Not much of a reaction from any player, or even the players who give everything seem resigned to doing this for the rest of the season. Yeah, that's what you don't want. You don't want those players who have been playing really well to look around and go, well, if they're going to throw the towel in, then so am I. You've got Thomas Simons, who says Radio 5 presenters summed up Leicester perfectly. The results are where we're at. We are a mid-table side. They mentioned how badly the club's being run from not paying staff on time. Of course, we had that over Christmas, didn't we? To the change to being more in line with the King Power brand as a whole. Again, just bad timing, poor management, lack of a chief executive, etc. That's what that really hammers home as. And I know someone like Susan Whelan had her critics towards the end, but you can't imagine something like this would have passed her desk and gone, yeah, okay, that's fine. Surely she would have turned around and gone, no, we'll wait till January and then maybe send a letter out to say, by the way, next December, this is how it's going to be staged, etc. So the lack of someone in charge, that reeks of what's happened there for me. And then elsewhere, if James signs for his next season, you have to wonder about his ambitions. Yes, completely right. And hearing from neutrals without my own internal hope for this performance and team, in which was quite sobering. And like a reality smack to the face. I think there was a post from a Queen's Park Rangers fan that went viral around the Leicester community, didn't it? Saying about how much of a mess they thought our side was. Okay, we'll come straight on to the manager, Rob. Now, I liked, and we've done this over the years, over the decades, we could say now, really, over 10 years. We like to take a step back, okay, and look at things from maybe a more sobering point of view, maybe just take into account what's coming up, etc. Maybe not make any rash decisions or rash statements. Well, I try not to. Well, occasionally I do. But before we get into, is it Cifuentes out now or maybe after Derby, I think we just have to just look forward to what's happening in the summer, with a vast amount of players being out of contract, and virtually all of them, about 90% really, are going to leave. Okay, so there's going to be a huge squad overhaul this summer. Okay, which is needed. It's also going to happen, and it might mean an awful lot of youth players are then promoted to the first team squad, and there's going to have to be a lot of players brought in, maybe for not a huge amount of money that's going to be flying around at the football club. But anyway, that's going to happen. And I think what the football club will be looking at is, do they think that Marti Cifuentes is the guy to do that? As much as January transfer window is on the horizon and will be very, very important, and he's already mentioned that there are players and there's decisions being made already on that front, going in and out of the club. I think if the football club are looking at moving Marti on, they need to be looking to what they want in the summer as well. Okay, we have to, and I know we can't at Leicester trust the fact that we're going to be in the league, because we've had that in the past in the Premier League, where obviously we went down when we never thought we would go down under Brendan Rodgers. And I think that's what they got to look forward to. Don't look forward to what's happening in January, or even in the court with having points taken off us. Look towards the summer, and if they've seen in the 6 months or so that Marty's been here, if they want him to be in charge of a summer reinvention of the Leicester City squad, do they trust him with the youth players coming through? Then they have to keep him if they think that. But if they don't, and they want a different direction, or they don't trust him, or they don't want him anymore, then I think a defeat at home to Derby would spell the end of Marty. And in my opinion, I think I would now be in the Marty out camp if they do lose against Derby.
Yeah, it's a difficult decision when you put it like that, because of the slightly longer term thought process that needs to happen. Nobody in football thinks particularly long term, but Leicester have been so short sighted in the last few years and have made such poor decisions in terms of timing of managerial appointments, in terms of not managing the contracts of players very well. There are so many things that have gone wrong that actually, I would prefer them to take the step back, like you said, have a little look a little bit further into the future. Obviously, you can't predict it, but you can anticipate, and you can get a feeling now from a manager that's been in the post for 4 or 5 months. Is he the man to refresh Leicester? Now, that's not going to happen this season. So I guess the difficulty with the decision is, can you withstand, as the board and as the owner, can you withstand the amount of continued disgruntlement you're going to get from supporters if you keep Cifuentes in all the way through the season? Because I would imagine that if you manage to get a poll out to every Leicester fan around the world, it would be heavily weighted towards Cifuentes out either now, or, like you said, kind of hinging on the Derby game or the sort of this cluster of Christmas festive fixtures. That is, I mean, it's crunch time for most clubs, and it can be the difference that I've written in a couple of articles on forfoxsake.news, that the championship table usually sorts itself out sometime mid-January. This condensed sort of central pack will start to spread out, already has started to spread out, and you need to be up this end of it after the festive fixtures. So you've got to think about that. You've got to think about the January window. Only the club themselves know what possibilities there are in terms of incomings and outgoings for Leicester. That's a consideration. And then the longer term, is he the man to rebuild the squad? Now from the outside looking in, from what I've seen so far, I have less and less faith in the fact that he is the man to be the leader of this next generation of Leicester, of this almost like, for fuck's sake, has rebranded and regenerated Leicester City Football Club is attempting or needs to do the same thing. Is Cifuentes the man to have at the helm of that? I would argue not, because a few months ago, first few interviews, I thought this guy speaks really well. He's not giving you the generic answers. He sounds like the kind of person that wants to be here and wants to be the person to spearhead this changing of the guard, if you like, whatever. But now, and I think this would be a good time to put up our colleague Andy's comment. He's watching along. Yeah, I totally agree. Now I'm thinking halfway through the season, looks out of his depth. Comments sounding more and more defeated. And you listen to him, you listen to Jordan James, but all saying, like, we're working really hard. We've got a lot of quality, but it just doesn't happen on a match day. Now, at some point, somebody has to be accountable for that. And unfortunately, in football, you can't sack all the players. I mean, Leicester are going to get rid of a lot of players in the summer, as you said. But right now, at this moment, Cifuentes isn't getting the tune out of him that he thinks he should be, and that some of the players think they should be. So there's something not quite there. Maybe it is him out of his depth. We've only ever seen him manage a mid-table championship team in QPR. So where's the proof that he is the kind of person that can rebuild a squad that is capable of challenging for promotion from the championship, and therefore then capable of competing again in the Premier League? I haven't seen any proof of that.
Over 23 games, we've nearly got that perfect kind of symmetrical record of winning and losing and drawing all the same amount of games, which results in being mid-table. And when you look at the league, and we mentioned previously, and I said previously, you can never turn down promotion. Look at Sunderland. And again, Sunderland's that prime example of a side, when you do get promotion, you've got to almost rip everything up unless you have gone forward with a very, very good team, with a very well-defined style. We did a few years ago, and then we threw it all out the window, but we'll forget about that. Now, I'm not here saying that Leicester, as a board, as a football club behind the scenes, and also as a fan base, need to be seriously looking at sixth place and going, that is the prime objective for this season. Now, don't get me wrong out there. If we go and win a few games on the bounce, and this is what happened after Ipswich, for example, I was looking at that sixth place going, here we go. We might be on a run of games here. We're only 5 points off now, sixth place. So we can still reach the playoffs. Now, if we were to turn things around with Marti in charge, with a new manager, with a temporary manager, or with someone who comes in temporary, which I think is what most people will want, and more on that in a bit, then, and if we go on a run, then yes, we can dream and get a playoff place, and who knows what can happen. But what we do know is that we're going to be getting some points taken off us. So we need to keep that not quite in the forefront of our mind, but also in that conversation about what direction Leicester need to be going in. And again, it all boils down to whether they think that this manager is the guy, with a full season behind him, with a full pre-season as well, with a squad that he can hopefully be in a position to try and form by not being in any danger. And if the answer is yes, then fine. I get all that. But there's one thing which I can't get out of my mind when thinking about the future of Marti Cifuentes. And I'm very much a case of a person who likes to back a manager. And this is the reason why I think he is basically one defeat away from possibly being sacked, and for me, being in the Marti out camp. And that is, from what we've seen from the manager, from what we've heard, but also from what we've seen, especially against Watford yesterday, I don't think that changing the manager will have any detrimental effect on the side, okay, which is a pretty damning thing to say about a manager. I don't see what he has added to this side. And I think if he was to leave, or to be told to leave, and the side was to be put out in exactly the same style, in the same formation, I don't think a lack of a Marti on this touchline is going to make any difference whatsoever. Now, obviously, whoever comes in will more than likely change things around, or from what a lot of people will want is maybe someone from behind, like an Andy King, to come forward and take over and maybe have a different idea and do what maybe is happening down at Southampton until yesterday, with their good run of form. So it's a damning thing to say, isn't it? Where you turn around and you just go, I don't think it matters whether he's here. If he's not here, I don't think the side, not can play any worse, but I don't think it's going to go down dramatically. I don't think we're going to drop through the division if he does leave. Now, obviously, if he does leave, Rob, we're not going to sit here and just say, for fuck's sake, Marti out, right, get rid, go. We're going to be a bit more considered. We always have been. And if I was to say I am now in the Marti out camp, the first thing you would ask me is, okay, then who do you want in? Realistically, what would your decision be? But I'm going to say that to you first. If he does go, who would you want to take over? Would you want someone like Andy King to come forward, or do you think they should be looking towards the summer? And you don't have to come up with a name straight away, but someone who would be a bit more long term.
It has to be a longer term appointment, but only they will know whether they think Andy King is in a position to do that. Ultimately, nobody knows what he'd be like as a head coach until he's had to go at a head coach. Everybody needs a first job, and Andy King doesn't necessarily strike me as the kind of person that would be in a position to go and interview for jobs in, let's say, National League or League Two, because does he carry enough weight as from his playing career? For us as Leicester fans, yes, he does, but I can't see him knocking on the door at a League Two club and trying to get his first job there and them taking him over somebody else. But what I can see is him getting a job like the head coach job at this club, his club, basically. I know he's not from Leicester, but he spent the vast majority of his career and his life here. So if he wants to be a head coach, and the club can see actually he could be the person to oversee this. We've talked a lot recently on For Fox's Sake about the team on the pitch not really representing the identity that most Leicester fans can get on board with. You know, we struggled to get on board with the Maresca style of football. We only really got on board with it because it was racking up so many points. We couldn't not get on board with it. Nobody particularly enjoyed it. Cifuentes' style is not exactly the same, but it's very similar, and it's just not having any effect. The players either are not playing for the shirt, or not playing for each other, or not playing for the manager, whatever. It just, you can't see enough from them. Andy King strikes me as the kind of person that would have that as his non-negotiable. Forget about your tactics, forget about who it is on the pitch there, but your number one job is you graft as hard as you can for Leicester City. And I feel like he would be the kind of person that would understand that more than most. I think also it comes down to the appointment of a technical director. And again, for foxsake.news is going to be the place for you to go to read about this, because Andy has done a fantastic piece on the role of a technical director, what it entails and what that would mean for Leicester City. But he's also had a little grumble, like a lot of us have, about the fact that Top came out 7-8 weeks ago now and said, we're going to reconnect the club with the fans, we're going to be a lot more open with our communication, John Rudkin's going here, we're appointing a new technical director. Anybody heard anything since, other than the pre-written program notes? No, they haven't. So I think the technical director appointment's really important as well. What's the timing of that? Are they expecting that to be happening within the next few days in time for the January transfer window? In which case, change the manager as well. Technical director sits here with the experience. Andy King can just stick to the coaching side of things and have his input, obviously, on recruitment and stuff. And then you see how that goes till the summer for me. And you see what the technical director thinks, because ultimately they're going to be the person making the footballing decisions. If the idea is that this restructuring is a longer term thing and the technical director's not coming in until the summer, then, you know, you might as well leave Cifuentes in charge and muddle on through, because then if you change King and you've not got the experienced personnel around him, I think it could be a difficult one for him, because I've seen a few people a little bit reluctant to back Andy King for the job because of the positive reputation he currently enjoys at the club. Similar to like Ole Gunnar Solskjaer at Manchester United. He was never going to turn the manager's job down, but has it sort of muddied his reputation there? Certainly with us looking from the outside in, it has. And I think the same with Andy King. It's a big risk for him. It's a big risk for the club.
Yeah, Solskjaer would be in the Manchester United top 101 players, and Andy King is certainly inside the Leicester City top 101 players of all time. Find out more on for fox8.news come the 1st of January. Just a few comments. We've got Richard Houston, look down, don't look up. Yes, absolutely. And Andy says, I'm starting to fear the points deduction and its consequences. So again, yeah, looking down really. Others, you got Richard again saying that our club is rotten to the core. Top and KP and King Power is to blame. No direction from the top for years, and they've made bad decision after bad decision, and they've got some big decisions coming up with the manager, and also again with that playing squad, not only in January but also especially in the summer. We've also got Andy saying King till the summer, significant improvements, then keep long term, if not someone like Carrick. We've also got Neil Chanshaw. All right, Channy. Agree with Andy. Need to make hay while the sun shines. Get deducted 9 points. And if you're scrapping in relegation places, not sure the players will be able to fight. Yeah, that's the problem, isn't it? You know, if you do make the change now and they get rid of Marti Cifuentes, and then they all of a sudden, maybe the next day, because no one knows when this points deduction is coming through, they're probably waiting for a decision to be made on the manager and then go, right, hit them with the 9 points or 12 points. And then you could be saying, right, Andy King, here's the job. Oh, by the way, you're in 21st place and you're scrapping for relegation. It's that won't be fair on him, really. But then again, you know, if he's there in a temporary role, we'll wait and see. But we need that points deduction decision, whether it's positive or negative, to be made as soon as possible. If Andy King has ambitions to be Leicester manager, why would he help Marty? Well, it's that thing I've been saying for weeks, isn't it? Like, oh, the biting of the fist behind the scenes. Does he want things to change? Does he want to play a different formation? Does he want to be playing more youth or completely playing in a different style? Or is he going to put the same 11 out on the field in the same formation, because that's what we've been working on and he's been essentially a big part of that. And then you've got Thomas once again, Martin O'Neill with King coaching, help King in the transition. Martin stays upstairs, and King implements on the training ground, worked for Celtic. And a lot of people said O'Neill. I said O'Neill, a little bit tongue-in-cheek, because I can't see him at all coming to the football club. Who knows? Maybe they're trying to get someone like him behind the scenes. If that was the case, would be amazing. It would be just the sort of manager I think Leicester need, and they need someone to install that one word I mentioned, or two words, but before we or just when we started, that was backbone, because we're playing Derby. Derby are slightly above us by 1 point, and since actually that game against Leicester, they've gone on a little bit unbeaten run. They've drawn 3 games, including away at Birmingham the other day. They beat Sheffield Wednesday 3-0. They should be, and they normally are, a fairly solid and robust side, not spectacular at all. And they're just a sort of side where, as Leicester showed, if you get a good start and you most sides in the league, or there's a good handful of sides in the league, you would say probably have just better players all round than Derby, then you can get at them and you can beat Derby. But one thing you've got to do is you've got to work hard. You've got to take your chances, and that's what Leicester did at Pride Park. But they're coming to the King Power, Rob, on the back of these 2 really poor defeats. And we've seen Leicester lose many games in our time doing for Fox's sake, where Leicester have played well, they've applied themselves well. Sometimes they've been applauded off the field by the whole of the King Power because of the efforts that they've made. And maybe they've lost to teams who maybe been below them in the league. We've struggled in the Premier League against sides towards the bottom. And also in promotion seasons, we've been turned over in random results. It's football. That happens. But it's the manner of the 2 recent defeats. I'm very, very worried for Derby turning up. Not because it's Derby and it's a local derby against rivals, and there's a third of Shepshed who support Derby and a third who support Forest and a third of Leicester fans. I'm not worried about that at all. I'm worried that it will get toxic at the King Power. That's what I don't want. Some people might want that because they think it will bring change, maybe with the manager, maybe with the ownership overall. Maybe it's something that is needed, and I think a lot of people will probably think that's the case. I worry, though, because I'm just going to echo what Andy said and a few others said. Maybe it's a case of what we don't want it to do is become really toxic, because all of a sudden, if you do get hit by a big points deduction, and then you're staring a relegation dogfight in the face, and also it's already a toxic atmosphere, that's just a really bad combination all round.
Yeah, and if we revert back to the previous point about the Leicester players having very little backbone, being very fragile, really struggling for confidence and belief in themselves and in each other, the last thing they need is a tense crowd that's not on their side. But ultimately, the Leicester crowd has always, in my opinion, been pretty fair, in the sense that if they see what they want to see, they will get behind you. And if they don't, they'll let you know about it. And I think fixtures over the festive period are always quite interesting, because the attendances can suffer. People are not in the usual routines. They might be away. They might be in other parts of the country. They might have family commitments and stuff. I think it's going to be quite sparse at the King Power in a couple of days' time, because those that made the sacrifice to family and stuff to go on Boxing Day to see particularly a second half performance as abject as that are going to be looking at this and going, really, can I drag myself down there twice in 3 days over the festive period to go and cheer on a team that are not going to do enough to actually make me cheer? And I think the answer, when people weigh that up, for a lot of people is going to be a no. So I think the atmosphere will be flat. And then if things don't go Leicester's way early on, will turn flat and negative. I think it's going to be a really, really difficult atmosphere to play in. Now, I've never played in front of a crowd of any kind of significance whatsoever, but if you're going into that worrying that you're letting the club down, which a lot of the players are making that kind of noise, letting themselves down, whatever, knowing that Derby are coming into this less than a month after us giving them a pretty decent first half battering on their own patch, that's going to be very, very fresh in their minds. They're also going to be fully aware that the Leicester crowd are not fully behind their team at the minute. And I really do think the atmosphere is going to be a very difficult one on the 29th. I don't know what day of the week that is because it's Christmas and everyone no idea what day it is now. But on the 29th is going to be a difficult atmosphere, and unless Leicester score twice in the first 10 minutes, I really struggle to see how the fans will get behind them. I struggle to see how Leicester will get anything out of the game.
Do you also think that if they are beaten against Derby and beaten in a fairly heavy style, not just with the scoreline, but you're talking about Sheffield United, etc., that sort of defeat, maybe even a collapse of the team, which happened at Southampton, that sort of defeat. Do you think that they will pull the trigger and sack Cifuentes?
I think they'll struggle to have much justification not to. That's not me sitting on the fence. We've talked about the fact that they might have to consider mid and long term objectives, but if you get absolutely hammered by QPR, you show no sign really in the second half against Watford of actually being capable of getting a result from the game, and then you get turned over by Derby 3 days later at the King Power, and you sort of sense what the crowd is feeling. It'd be really, really difficult to keep him in because, as we've said, if they are looking that Cifuentes is the person that they want to refresh the squad in the summer, it's going to be a long old 5 months of dragging out performances like this, and the fans will be even less on side with the club than they have been for a long while. I'm just looking at the substitutions that were made as well. A lot of people were not particularly pleased with the lack of proactivity on Cifuentes' part. If they come out second half not delivering with the kind of level of intensity or application that you want, you can't wait until 69 minutes to make your first change, 75 for the second change, and then 87 minutes for your last couple of changes. You've got to look at this and go, these players, this starting 11, bar the odd change here and there, which was a Colian for Vestergaard and Ricardo and Hamza Chowdhury change. These players have been turning out now for 4 or 5 games in a row, and we've all been crying out for that. You get into them at half time, you say get out there and get stuck in second half, and they don't, drag them off, put the academy lads on. Because if I'm sat on the bench and I'm 18, 19, 20, come through the Leicester Academy, training with the first team, and I'm watching that out on the pitch, I'm thinking, give me a run. Give me a run of more than what Thomas got, which is, he came on in 87 minutes. Even someone like Monger and Ramsey, give them longer to have an impact. And I think the 29th would be a good time to make changes without necessarily putting the nose out of joint of those starters, because it's 2 games in 3 days. It's a chance for rotation, and maybe this will be the saving grace. It's a really good opportunity for players on the fringe who haven't been starting games to come in and say, look, we can do better than what you've been putting out here. We can prove that we actually want to be here, and that might raise performance levels a little bit. I'm clutching at straws here.
Yeah, I mean, might is the word, isn't it? The one thing I will ask you, and I'm going to answer my own question first because I get first chance, and that would be, what 1 or 2 changes would you make? The problem is, and this was echoed by many Leicester fans after the game against Watford, it's all very easy to do. It's very easy to do. You've got Mavididi on one side and you've got Fatawa on the other side. Okay, they're wingers. If they're not performing, you can drag one and put on a Monger. You can drag another, or you can drag a player in one position, Cordova-Reid, and bring on Ramsey. And it's just like for like changes, okay? And that person who comes on can all of a sudden have an absolute blinder. Fantastic. You go and win the game or get a point or whatever. That's all very well and good. But when the performance is so poor, and then all of a sudden you bring these players on and nothing really changes, you've then got to be proactive as a manager and change the formation, change the style, okay? Maybe go more route one, maybe hit the channels, maybe have a bit of a pace up front and try and stretch their defence. Do something outside of the box that they are not expecting, because at the moment, Leicester are one of the easiest teams to read in this league, and you can do that from the starting lineup. You know exactly how they're going to play, and it's very easy to play against them, and you know exactly what you've got to do. And they've just been massively found out, and the manager, in my opinion, has been massively found out. We saw what happened with Ruud last year, and I know his team was just nowhere near good enough to stay up in the Premier League. But it was the same team and the same formation and same style week in, week out. And there's been very minimal activity on the bench at Leicester this season in terms of having maybe two up fronts. I mean, I know Kranz has been very disappointing, but again, you've got your centre forward who came on loan this season. He's probably going to go back in January. Fingers crossed he does, because he hasn't scored. But give him a chance, and give him a chance maybe alongside someone. I know Patson Daka's gone to AFCON and scoring goals and land on his head. That's all very well and good, but you've got players in that side. You can mix things up, change things. And it's not just formation. Again, it's style. Okay, it's style. And I just don't see that with this manager. Just don't see it. And that's why I think if they do make a decision and pull the trigger on Cifuentes, I don't think we're losing a lot. I really don't. And my final question, because we've got to look towards Derby, and it would be, what would you do slightly differently? I'm just going to say one thing, because I know Andy would be saying exactly this, and he mentioned it on the previous pod, and that's the goalkeeper. Okay, goalkeepers make mistakes. He came out, he couldn't claim the cross. The Pollock got there first, header, goal. There you go. It's one of those when the ball was delivered in, everyone's going, oh God, because you can see that the forward or the attacking player is going to get there first. You see it all the time from the commentary box that we've been in. You can, and everyone sat around the King Power. We've all seen so much football. You all of a sudden you can see one player on one side of your eye, one the other side. You know who's going to get there first. It could be a sliding challenge, both going for the same ball, and you, oh no, this is going to end badly, and you know which player is just going to get there first between the goalkeeper and the forward. And it was very easy to see that, and it's the sort of goalkeeping mistake I'm actually, I would put down as it's almost one of them. Okay, I know he didn't cover himself in glory away at QPR, but it's one of those awkward crosses that a goalkeeper should claim, but it also is quite easy because he has to come out and try for that. And if the player's always going to get there, you could be the fastest goalkeeper in the world and you still wouldn't get there. It's just one of them. Sometimes being in goal is an impossible thing. I'm thinking back to my youth and it's all come flooding back. But anyway, I would make the change. I know Andy would say that. Okay, so I'd change the goalkeeper around because, and something I've repeated again and again and again, changing the goalkeeper can change the back line as well without changing any of the defense. Okay, you change the goalkeeper, you don't need to change anyone in front of you, but all of a sudden the attitude, the confidence in what the goalkeeper can do, it can all change. Okay, I'm a big believer in that. And I think they will need to change the goalkeeper, and I think that would help the defense as well. Away from that, I would still like to see two up front, okay? And I think you might have to roll that Carranza dice one more time. If they're going to get rid, they're going to get rid. Okay, send him back. That's fine. But maybe you could almost turn around, you'll know, and say, look, you've got one last chance here. We're going to stick you in at the start. We're going to have two up front and go and do your stuff. This is your last chance at this football club to try and possibly remain for the rest of the season. So two up front and a change in goal. That's what I would do. What would you do?
Yeah, I take your point on Begovic, and I don't think that it would be too negative on Stolarczyk to give him a few games breather again. You see a lot of clubs, Brighton kind of made it fashionable a couple of seasons ago where one keeper would play a run of 3, 4, 5 fixtures and then they'd change them around. I think to protect Stolarczyk long term, I think that might be a decent idea. Begovic did pretty well when he was in terms of keeping out what he should have kept out. And also we've talked on the podcast before about his experience. And I think both of those would be a help at this stage. And I don't think it would feel like you're dropping Stolarczyk long term. Wouldn't be like West Ham did when Hermansen had a couple of rough games because the entire West Ham team was. Areola came in and Hermansen was gone, and you've not seen him on the pitch since. He's been sat on the bench. I don't think it would look like that. So as long as it was communicated well, I think Begovic coming in goal is a decent idea. I would like to see Leicester play. I'd take your point about two up front, but I'm actually going to go a little bit more aggressive than that and go 3, like very, very high up front. So at the minute, you could probably class our formation. It's a little bit fluid in and out of possession, but roughly speaking, it's a 4-2-3-1. And the wide players, Mavididi and Fatawu, or whoever starts against Derby in a couple of days, depending on fitness and whatever, they need to play in line with Ayew or whoever starts up front. So you've got 3 up front. Reason for that is Derby play a back 3 and their centre-backs are very slow And that's how we got at them in the reverse fixture at the beginning of the month. So if you pin Fatawu and Mavadidi high, or whoever's playing wide, literally up front, Derby have got to do one of two things. Their centre-backs have got to be out wide, which Langas got his pants pulled down multiple times by Mavadidi in the reverse fixture. So that's a positive for us. You've got wingers running at centre-backs. Never liked it. When I used to play amateur football at 11 aside, I played centre-back. I would always much prefer to be part of a 2 than a 3. Or if I was playing a 3, I'd definitely want to be the one in the middle, because if you play either side of a back 3 and you're not blessed with pace and you've got wingers running at you, you're in a spot of bother. The other thing it might do, if the centre-backs stay narrow, is it will pin the wing-backs, which means that Derby will have to defend with 5 players, which will leave a little bit of space in the middle, especially if Ricardo's moving inside, or whoever's playing right back, probably be Chowdhury, to create a little bit more. I think you have to target high up, wide areas, whether that's through the same style that Cifuentes likes, or whether it's the kind of style we'd like to see, spin a few balls in the channels, get Fatawu, Mavadidi, or Monga, or Thomas, or whoever's starting on the wings, spin a couple of balls in behind the wing backs. The wing backs are going to be up higher. Centre back doesn't want to come across there. And I'd probably, if I was doing that, I'd call it a 4-3-3, and I'd maybe consider just leaving Decordova-Reid out, and I would have Skip at the centre of the midfield 3, and I'd have James and Ramsey as box-to-boxers, rather than having someone sitting in behind Ayew, because I think then you can pin with a 3 at the top there and have 2 rushing through the middle. That kind of tweak of approach or formation, I think, would have a huge impact. But it relies on the pace of the ball and the length of the pass that Cifuentes is pretty much refusing to employ.
A few more comments before we finish. You've only had some lads in the academy who are scoring for fun. Yes, absolutely, and maybe we'll see Evans. Also, I simply tell players once they get into the final third, they can take a chance or get creative. They always seem to get there and run out of ideas, then go back and sideways they go. Also, and this is a little look maybe towards what's coming up, because Dorkowski says, my favourite player was the late Willie Carling. He made a tackle on the wing and the ball smacked me in the face. He showed genuine care to me afterwards. Well, you might well be in with a nice surprise, because he may figure in the top 101 Leicester City players of all time, the definitive list as created by myself, Rob, and also Andy. There's been plenty of conversation, deliberation, and I've got about 30 players who didn't make the list. Okay, this is going to be launched on the 1st of January with for Fox8.news, and we're going to be bringing you the first 10 of that list of 101, and then in the coming weeks and months, another 10, another 10, another 10. Okay, all the way through until probably around about the summer, when we'll have the final 10. And Willie Carling may well make an early appearance, possibly. Okay, some big names who have missed out. Now, looking forward to the game against Derby, are we? I want a prediction from you, Rob Hayes.
I really don't think that we're going to win, but as long-term listeners and viewers to For Fox's Sake will know, we very, 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 very rarely predict Leicester to lose. So I'm gonna go for a really difficult 1-1, a difficult watch of a 1-1.
A difficult 1-1. I think there'll be goals. I'm going to go actually for a draw. I was going to go for a Desmond. I'm going to go for 2-2 at the King Power. And if it goes the other way, then it might well be the end for Martin. If that's the case, then I know Andy will be right there with a big column on for Fox8.news, ready to bring it to you. So once again, just a reminder, head to for Fox8.news right now. Type in your email address, and what that will enable you to have is a discount for when the site goes live on January the 1st. Okay, the regular price will be the price of a pint. Okay, but you will get a 20% discount if you type in your email address right now to for Fox8.news, and that will give you all of the content. Okay, there will be some free content on there, including the podcast that you're watching or listening to right now. That will always be free. This for Fox 8 podcast and others as well. Hopefully, we're enjoying the women's football show. Some brilliant guests on there at the moment, and there will be plenty of Leicester City women's content on for Fox8.news, an awful lot as well. So it's an all-encompassing site. being launched on the 1st of January. And again, for fox8.news, make sure you join us on there on the 1st of January. Type in your email address, get that discount. That's it. Now, whether we have a podcast before, Rob, the new year, I'm not entirely sure.
You've not checked the schedule, have you, Pete? I've started a schedule. I've made an Excel spreadsheet, and those of you that are watching and listening who actually know me will know for sure that is not like me at all. That's how dedicated I am to the new For Fox's Sake. We've got one scheduled in after Derby, before New Year's Day, somewhere in that little gap, in that little window.
Splendid. So we've got another one coming your way before the new year, but I'm going to wish you all a happy new year and make sure you head over to our new site. Obviously, we're going to be promoting it, and I hope you, and there'll be a few people listening out there. Oh, come on, you keep going on about this website. Yes, of course. There you go. That's what it is. And it enables us to keep For Fox's Sake going. We've been going for a good 12 plus years now as a podcast on audio only, and now obviously visual, but now, honestly, I think you're going to absolutely love this new site. For fox8.news, get your discount. Any more, Rob, on the Derby game?
No, I can't really can't wait to watch it.
Right. Have a great new year. Obviously, we've got one more podcast before the new year, and hopefully you can join us there. But from myself and Rob, that's it for today. Fingers crossed for the Derby against Derby.